Live.
A very good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News here on Newsfirst. Today is the 30th of October 2023. For the Newsfirst team, I am Jaimal Ratnayaka.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. We'll start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Public services trade unions take to the streets, demanding an allowance of 20,000 rupees. State Finance Minister says budget will not send the economy in reverse. Government launches Aswasama Week while World Bank delegation tours the country. Is the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna in crisis and will they defeat the budget? Veteran Sri Lankan cheerleader Uncle Percy passes away.
On our top story for tonight, some somber news. It is no secret that the game of cricket holds pride of place in Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan cricket fans are regarded as some of the most passionate fans in the cricketing arena. Today is indeed a sorrowful day as Sri Lanka cricket lost its biggest fan. A man who followed Sri Lankan cricketers to all corners of the world, serving as a constant source of inspiration in good times and bad. He was none other than Percy Abesekara, fondly known as Uncle Percy.
Uncle Percy followed the Sri Lankan team for decades and was hailed as Sri Lanka cricket's greatest supporter. He passed away earlier today at the age of 87. Percy Abesekara was an old boy from Richmond College and St. Aloysius College, Gaul, as well as the Sri Ratanasara College, Baddegama. Since the 1979 World Cup held in the West Indies, Percy was known as the superfan of Sri Lankan cricket and his infectious enthusiasm was always a sight to behold. He was popular not only among Sri Lankans but also many international cricketers and fan bases worldwide.
The State and Provincial Public Services Trade Union Collective engaged in nationwide protests demanding an allowance of 20,000 rupees or a salary increment.
The State and Provincial Public Services Trade Union Collective said that the rising cost of living had made matters worse for those engaged in the state and provincial sector, and all those employees need to be given a reasonable allowance or a salary hike. Protests were organized covering all districts of the country, and the main protest took place opposite Setsiripaya.
We cannot save a cent from our salaries. We cannot support our families as well. The working masses have failed. The working masses have fallen from the frying pan to the stove. Therefore, we request from the Ranil Wickremesinghe and Mahinda Rajapaksa government to award an allowance of 20,000 rupees or a salary hike via the budget that will be presented on the 13th of November.
2024 ආයවැය එනවා නොවැම්බර් 13 පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට අපි ඒ නිසා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ඒ දෙබෑයන්ගේ ආණ්ඩුවෙන් අපි ඉල්ලනවා මේ රටේ වැඩ කරන ජනතාවට රුපියල් 20000ක ආවම වැටුප් වැඩිකිරීමක් හෝ දීමනාවක් වහාම ලබා දෙන්න.
The State and Provincial Public Services Trade Union Collective also protested opposite the Ministry of Labour. They demanded the pensions of those recruited directly to the public service after 2016 be confirmed and a reasonable cost of living allowance to be awarded. The State and Provincial Public Services Trade Union Collective also protested opposite the Maharagama Divisional Secretariat. Members of the collective protested opposite the Gampaha Divisional Secretariat in this manner. Another protest seeking a 20,000 rupees salary hike took place opposite the Nigambo Divisional Secretariat. More members of the State and Provincial Public Services Trade Union Collective engaged in a protest march in the Bandaragama town. Protests also took place opposite the Horana bus stand and opposite the Panadura Divisional Secretariat. The State and Provincial Public Services Trade Union Collective staged another protest opposite the Kurunegala District Secretariat. Public sector employees at the Polgahavela Divisional Secretariat and affiliated institutions protested during the lunch hour at the Polgahavela town, demanding an allowance of 20,000 rupees as a salary hike. Members of the State and Provincial Public Services Trade Union Collective also protested in Anuradhapura, Ratnapura and Kandy.
Will there be a salary increase via the budget? State Minister of Finance Shahan Semasinghe, speaking at the President's Media Centre, said certain trade unions are attempting to portray some budget proposals as ones that were introduced because of them.
We cannot proceed to a point where the economy will contract once again. The President and the government is not prepared to make such decisions. The President and the government understand the issues faced by the people and will make the appropriate decisions. There are certain assumptions made that some of the budget proposals were made due to the trade unions.
The SLPP wields the majority in the government. However, will they take measures to defeat the government? Such a situation has arisen following the statements made by SLPP's General Secretary and Parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa, who criticised the recent cabinet shuffle.
In recent weeks, the SLPP heavily criticised the cabinet shuffle, which saw Kehelia Rambukwala removed from the Health Ministry and moved to the Environment Ministry, and SLFP's Mahinda Amaravira awarded the Ministry of Plantation Industries. In response, Nimal Lanka, who was elected to Parliament from the SLPP and decided to become independent, challenged the SLPP to defeat the budget instead of criticising the cabinet shuffle.
Sri Lanka Nidhas Paksha Mantrivaru.
There are only 5 MPs from the SLFP. We are not pleased with awarding a ministry and a state ministry to the SLFP in this manner.
Api සතුටු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක වැරදි දෙයක්.
එතුමත් තේරුම් ගත යුතුයි.
As a seasoned politician, he too needs to understand how to deal with coalition parties in unity and with discussions. I don't need to advise him, as he engaged in politics with my father. During the government of good governance, we witnessed a tug of war. In the end, it was the country that suffered, and it even led to political instability. Though they speak out now, they have forgotten the past. I challenge you to a debate on the recent happenings. Why don't they object the budget and leave? Why not face the next parliamentary election? On that day, they will not have the same spirit as they do now.
The SLPP, while responding to MP Lanka, also responded to questions on whether they would defeat the budget.
These are people who are irrelevant. It is the president who should respond. Lanka has no right in that. Irrelevant people are poking into other people's matters. If we have an issue, we will take it up with the president and the party leader. We have no desire to go to the opposition. We have no desire to even defeat this government.
ඒක නිසා ඔය අපි එක එක පුද්ගලයන් කියන කාරණාවලට
We will not respond to that person. We will solve our issues with the president.
කාරණය අපි ජනාධිපතිතුමා සමග විසඳ ගන්නම්.
ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් ඔබතුමාලගේ මන්ත්‍රීවරු කිව්වා දැන් මේ අපිට ආයවැයට පවා හිතන්න වෙනවා මේ සම්බන්ධව කියලා. අපි ආයවැයේදී බලාගමු කියලා. ඒක වෙනස් වෙනවා දැන් ඉස්සරහට.
නෑ සහෝදරයා ඒක ඉතා පැහැදිලිව කියන්න ඕන කාරණයක් තියෙනවා.
Let me clarify. As a party, we will never take decisions to destabilize the country or the livelihoods of the people. We always take decisions for the betterment of the country and the people. We will watch closely what the president will present in the budget. Will it contain matters that would benefit the people? We will consider all these matters and then decide on it as a party.
සලකා බලලා අපි මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් පක්ෂයක් හැටියට තීරණයක් ගන්නවා.
While political discord took centre stage in the political arena, the government decided to declare an Aswasuma week. The declaration was made at a time when Anna Bede, the managing director for operations of the World Bank, and a high-level delegation are visiting Sri Lanka.
The Sri Lankan government introduced the Aswasuma Social Welfare Benefit Program in order to provide relief to vulnerable social groups with a financial assistance of $200 million from the World Bank. However, the project has been heavily criticized since its implementation. Former director of the Asian Development Bank, Dr. Gunatilaka Herath, elaborated on this during the Mawatha discussion program.
We received a certain amount from the World Bank and it was given to the Aswasuma program. This program is a complete failure. There are already issues within the Samurdhi program. There were issues with regard to the selection of Aswasama beneficiaries. The poor were eliminated from selection and it was considered as an exclusion error. Those who need relief were not included. Data revealed that 4 people out of the 10% of the total population who make a great income also receive the Samurdhi. These are high income earners. However, only 32 from the low income bracket are in the program. The Aswasama program was introduced without addressing these issues. When we met with the IMF, I repeatedly stressed that the issues have not been rectified and they distributed the money as a matter of urgency. We could not implement the World Bank project. When 7 million people were identified as poor, the money was only given to 2 million. What happened to the remaining 5 million?
Anna Bede, managing director for operations of the World Bank, and a high-level delegation arrived in Sri Lanka on Sunday to monitor the projects implemented under World Bank assistance. They inspected the progress made with regard to World Bank projects implemented in the northern province. In an effort to streamline the Aswasuma benefit program and address ongoing concerns, the Ministry of Finance has announced the implementation of an Aswasuma week.
The implementation of an Aswasuma week will be from November 6th to 11th. The objective of this initiative is to promptly rectify the issues plaguing the program. Aswasuma Week should not be mistaken for a call for applications for the upcoming year. The Welfare Board is collaborating with divisional secretariats to ensure that beneficiaries are informed about the progress made. 8.5 billion rupees will be distributed to 1,365,000 beneficiaries within the next 2 days, enabling beneficiaries to access their funds.
On to another story that has been grabbing the headlines as of late. The Chinese geophysical scientific research vessel Shiyan-6 commenced research operations in the Sea of Sri Lanka. They have been given 48 hours to conduct research in the Sea of Sri Lanka.
The Chinese geophysical scientific research vessel Shiyan-6 left the port of Colombo and was seen in the sea area close to Jayala in the evening. The National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency said that in addition, samples of water at different levels of the deep sea will also be tested. 4 NARA officials are scheduled to join the research activities, while 2 Navy officers will also join this research team.
US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chang, in a recent meeting with Secretary of Defence, retired General Kamal Gunaratne, had discussed matters relating to the Cooperation of Float Readiness and Training Navy exercise in 2024, also known as CARAT 2024. CARAT is an exercise designed to promote regional security cooperation, maintain and strengthen maritime partnerships, enhance maritime interoperability, and preserve a free and open Indo-Pacific region. It involves the US Pacific Fleet, ASEAN, and South Asian countries. The US ambassador posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that last week at a meeting with Sri Lankan Defence Secretary Kamal Gunaratne, she discussed enduring security partnership, defence reform, joint training opportunities, and combating drug trafficking. CARAT 2023 took place in January in Colombo.
A program was held earlier today to inform the Ceylon Electricity Board employees regarding the electricity tariff hike. The program was held opposite the head office of the Ceylon Electricity Board.
The Ceylon Electricity Board Employees Union distributed handbills among the CEB staff requesting that trade union members and staffers converge opposite the CEB head office premises on the 1st of November. The 54th anniversary of the CEB falls on the 1st of November.
The salaries of the CEB employees were not increased in 4 years. The government slashes the overtime pay of the workers and increased the tariffs and now puts that blame onto the workers. The government is responsible for the CEB to go bankrupt. There is a plan to divide the CEB into 14 institutions. The transmission sector will be given to Adani Group. The 4 distribution systems of the CEB will be given to Tata. LECO will also be given away as 5 institutions to Tata. We are informed that the cabinet paper for this purpose will be tabled on the night of the 31st. The minister keeps on reprimanding the CEB workers. However, the people who cannot work are those in the parliament. They are trying to implement the IMF proposals. The government is about to lose out on the second tranche and therefore they have decided to increase the tariff and burden the people.
The Electricity Users Association distributed handbills opposite the Fort Railway Station to raise awareness over a protest march against the increase in electricity tariffs. The protest march will take place on the 1st of November from the Dulapitia town and will proceed to the Ministry of Power and Energy.
The government is unlawfully burdening the people. The electricity tariff was increased by 18% and it is unfair. They have increased the tariff and placed the burden on the people, citing losses at a time when around 39 million rupees is due to the CEB from public representatives, businessmen and political groups.
Members of the Electricity Users Association arrived at the police headquarters to obtain permission for the protest march scheduled to be held on the 1st of November.
We will engage in this protest without carrying any arms in a peaceful manner. Thus, we are requesting the DIG not to gather police force and not to prepare water cannons, tear gas or involve the riot police. We are planning to engage in the protest march peacefully.
A discussion on geopolitical analyst Asanga Abegunasekara's latest book, Teardrop Diplomacy, China's Sri Lanka Foray, was held in Colombo earlier today.
The event was organized by the Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka. Teardrop Diplomacy, China's Sri Lanka Foray, focuses on the geopolitical challenges faced by Sri Lanka during the past 2 years. Several invitees, including the Executive Director of the National Peace Council of Sri Lanka, Dr. Jehan Pereira, Deputy Executive Director of Transparency International Sri Lanka, Sankitha Gunaratna, and Opposition Leader Sajith Premadasa participated in the event. Author of the book, geopolitical analyst Asanga Abegunasekara, commented on the Belt and Road Initiative of China.
One of the most important factors here is to understand the power play between the Belt and Road, the initiative, which had almost 140 nations now. So 4,000 delegates in Beijing who discussed about the future of the Belt and Road. And for the first time, President Xi at this forum speaks about openness. So usually China doesn't talk about openness. So this is the first time that they spoke about it's important to have openness and transparency. So I think China is also learning the process, which I have, again, my book discuss about that. So how does China learn in certain countries some projects that are gone wrong, some projects that required more consultation, some projects that was quickly awarded in closed doors, not only in Sri Lanka but many other countries. I bring in many special economic zones that China has created, and where are basically the benefits out of these special economic zones. When you take in like special economic zones in Djibouti, which is called touch roads, they wanted extra jurisdictional power into the special economic zone, just like the port city, but then in a different context. But few months after, they wanted a military base. And so this was the Djibouti model.
Speaking at the event, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa commented on Sri Lanka's recent foreign policy decisions.
It is my perspective and contention that Sri Lanka's foreign policy decision-making process, especially in recent years, have been extremely ad hoc, highly amateurish, primarily based on knee-jerk reactions. This is one of the major deficiencies that I find in Sri Lanka's foreign policy decision-making apparatus. We all know that policy-making processes determined by rationality has provided many a success in the external affairs of many nation states. It is very important that we have proper policy inputs. It is very important that requisite policies are formulated. Then we have to ensure that the policies that are formulated are implemented on the ground. And we also need to have a proper evaluation, monitoring and feedback process, which should provide the decision makers with the opportunity to make corrective measures. So I would like to ask members of the audience, does Sri Lanka possess such a rational foreign policy decision making process? I doubt it very much.
The Parliament Group Leader of the Freedom People's Congress, Professor Percy, convened a media briefing today.
ජීවත් වීමට අත්‍යවශ්‍ය දේවල් විදුලි බලය, ජලය, ගෑස්, ඉන්ධන මේවාට ගෙවිය යුතු මුදල
If the government has no other solution but to increase the prices of essentials like electricity, water, gas and fuel, then there is no need for a government. Our clear view on this is that a bookkeeper can do what the government does. The practical solution is for the Treasury to receive the amount owed by the Inland Revenue Department. That amount should be paid. However, they don't charge that amount because they are friends. This is not a trivial amount. This is 58 billion rupees. The government has neglected collecting that money as taxes. 60% of the money owed has not been received. That money is in the pockets of the people who are friendly with the government. An amount between 50 to 60 million rupees was lost owing to the sticker fraud on liquor bottles. People have been squeezed, crushed and pressured to pay taxes. Thousands of entrepreneurs are leaving the country without a logical reason. Tax breaks are given to the rich and affluent. The International Monetary Fund has clearly stated that the biggest obstacle we face when recovering from this economic precipice is the corruption in the country, while having the ability to obtain financial provisions. They are not taking advantage of it for corrupt reasons. It is clear that the budget will not provide relief to the citizens and we will not accept that situation.
ප්‍රයෝජන ගන්නේ නැතිනම් එවන් අයවැයකින් අද මේසා විශාල දුකක් විඳින ජනතාවට අබමල් රේණුවක සහනයක් නොලැබෙන බව ඒ තත්ත්වය අපි කිසිත් නොපිළිගන්නා බව බොහොම පැහැදිලිව සඳහන් කරනවා.
Israel started the second phase of its war on Gaza. A large number of tanks moved in from the southeastern part of Gaza, advancing towards the western side. Pope Francis has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza amid escalating violence and a humanitarian catastrophe in the enclave.
Israeli forces issued a warning instructing people not to travel between the south and north of Gaza. Sources have also reported tanks moving from the northern part of Gaza towards Gaza City.
שמטרותיה ברורות. השמדת היכולות הצבאיות והשלטוניות של החמאס והחזרת החטופים הביתה.
Palestinian fighters are engaging with the Israeli forces who are trying to enter Gaza City. The Israeli army has managed to partially cut off Gaza City and separate the north of the strip from the south. The Pope, addressing a crowd of faithful in the St. Peter's Square in Rome during his Sunday service, urged the world to join in prayer for the resolution of the serious situation in Gaza.
Anche per la grave situazione in Palestina e Israele e per le altre regioni della guerra. A Gaza in particolare si lasciano spazi per garantire gli aiuti umanitari.
The head of the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the territory said that hundreds of people are stuck in hospitals in the north of Gaza and are physically unable to move south. Meanwhile, hundreds of people have stormed the main airport in Russia's Dagestan region, seemingly to protest against the arrival of a flight from Israel amid the war in Gaza. The crowd on Sunday broke past security, with some making it onto the runway of Makhachkala airport before they were removed by security forces. Thousands of Gaza residents broke into the warehouses and distribution centers of the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency, grabbing flour and basic survival items. Israeli attacks have killed more than 8,000 and injured more than 20,000 people in Gaza, including 3,324 children.
Anula Ratnayaka's body was laid to rest this afternoon at her residence in Iriavatia, Kalania. Her final rites were conducted this evening at the Vevelduwa Public Cemetery in Kalania following religious Anula Ratnayaka was declared missing following the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel. Later, it was revealed that she had lost her life in the attack. 49-year-old Anula Ratnayaka, who was a mother of two, was employed in Israel for 10 years.
Newsfirst with the people.
According to the exchange rate values released by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka today, the selling price of $1 was at 332 rupees and 49 cents. The purchase price of $1 was recorded at 321 rupees and 70 cents. Moving on to your weather update, the Met Department says that some areas in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, southern and Uva provinces and the Kurunegala district may experience heavy rains of more than 75 millimeters. There may be scattered showers or thunder showers in many parts of the island as well.
The Department of Meteorology informs the people to take necessary measures to reduce risks posed by temporary strong winds and lightning that may occur with thunder showers. The weather report states that there may be foggy conditions in some areas in the Sabaragamuwa, central and Uva provinces during the morning. In the meantime, the Irrigation Department informs residents on both banks of the Daduroya to be vigilant as there may be minor flooding in low-lying areas of the Daduroya Valley over the next few hours. 6 out of 8 sluice gates of Daduroya Reservoir have already been opened. The Irrigation Department expects the volume of water the Daduroya Reservoir receives may increase over the next few hours. 3 sluice gates of the Pulgola Mahavali Dam have been opened due to the rains. Meanwhile, there is an increase in the water capacity of the Victoria Reservoir due to the heavy rains in the Mahavali and Hulu rivers. The engineer in charge of the Victoria Dam, Vasantha Halapitiya, said that the water level of the Victoria Reservoir is rising significantly. Floodwaters in houses in several areas including Kadduwa, Malimbada and Katuwangoda due to the overflowing of the Nilwala river for almost 2 months have receded. However, water still remains in some lowlands. Meanwhile, level 2 landslide warnings were issued to Imbulpe, Godakavela, Kolonna, Ahaliyagoda, Kalawana, Ratnapura, Alapatha, Opanayaka, Valigepola, Balangoda and Kuruvita divisional secretariats in the Ratnapura district. The National Building Research Organisation said that level 1 landslide warnings will be issued to several divisional secretariats in Badulla, Colombo, Galle, Hambantota, Kalutara, Kandy, Kurunegala and Matara districts.
Some news from overseas. People across Turkey celebrated the centenary of the founding of the Republic across the country with festivals, firework displays, concerts, marches, military parades and aerial flypasts.
People across the country took part in celebrations on Sunday to mark the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Turkish Republic by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk on the 29th of October 1923. Meanwhile, the staff of the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Ankara issued a video wish for the 100th anniversary of the Republic of Turkey.
Happy 100th anniversary, Turkey!
Direct flights between Turkey and Sri Lanka commenced with effect from Monday. The first direct flight of Turkish Airlines from Istanbul to Colombo carried 261 passengers and reached the Bandar Naik International Airport on Monday morning. The passengers were warmly welcomed upon their arrival and Ceylon tea gift packs by the Sri Lankan Tea Board. For almost a decade, Turkish Airlines operated flights to Katunayaka via Malé, Maldives. A direct flight of Turkish Airlines from Istanbul to Colombo only takes 8 hours, and these direct flights have been scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. Each flight will leave Istanbul at 5:40 am local time and depart Sri Lanka at 7:40 am local time.
The official ICC Men's Cricket World Cup India 2023.
Another match of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 was held between Afghanistan and Sri Lanka.
Cricket fans can watch and listen to all the action of the World Cup via the MTV NBC networks, the official local broadcast rights holder of the tournament. The matches are also being live streamed on www.sirasatv.lk.
And with that, we come to a close of tonight's edition of Primetime News Fortnight. For the Newsfirst team, I am Jama Ratnayaka.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Good night.